Hi, I'm Katie, host of Focus and Flourish podcast. I used to grind nonstop until I figured out how to automate my systems that ended up helping me achieve a 4-day work week. Now I earn more and work less. Want to do the same? Grab my free 6-figure strategy guide, which is the exact blueprint I used to grow my own business to where I am today. Link in the show notes. Are you new here? Tap subscribe to support the show and never miss an episode. All right, guys. So because of the context for the call, there's so much exciting stuff we're going over. I'm just going to dive in and introduce you to Adrienna, and also just make a few points for those of you in different niches of how all of the lessons today can be applied to your business wherever you are. So I've loved my communication with Adrienna, partially because it has solidified some of the things I teach because I found her in a Google search. And
Perfect.
I found her in my search for just, seeing how AI is affecting SEO and all these different things. So I searched something about how are wedding trends and wedding marketing and photography trends and marketing changing in 2024. And that's how I found this wonderful woman, Adrienna, who is going to teach you all some pretty incredible stuff today because she's a marketing master. So over the past few weeks, we've talked a lot about conversion copywriting. We've talked about how all of you really should be focusing on your websites right now, even though I'm drilling that in so much. That's where we are. Even if your website is live, it's about like content, keywords, getting like your site on Google Search Console, all these pieces. However, I feel like sometimes because I am a photographer, my knowledge can be limited, and I like to bring people in who really share the same values as me. So Adrienna is the CEO of Ava and the Bee. And basically, in short, she has helped hundreds of wedding professionals, photographers, really, really start reaching their dream clients, increase their pricing and all those pieces. But the things that she's talking about today and teaching today apply to everyone here. So I really want everyone to like open themselves to that lens of how we communicate online, how we level up our online presence, how we show up online, how we can increase our rankings on Google. Also from a place that's not that stressful. Once you understand, some of these things, it can be really powerful. So Adrienna is going to be diving in. I'm going to let you sort of introduce what you're talking about. But the really cool thing about this is a lot of us are only limited by our own beliefs. Like, oh, I'll never book a wedding over $10,000. I'm never going to get a brand retainer that's over $2,500 a month, blah, blah, blah. It's totally possible. Our marketing has to be, incredibly consistent, and your audience needs to know, like, and trust you. And that means things need to be consistently moving. And so Adrienna is going to talk about, like, I'm going to let you introduce yourself. I'd love you to share more about who you are and what you do, like some places where you've spoken before. And then I'm going to let you dive in and give the juicy information overview. So I'm going to mute myself. Everybody, this is Adrienna, and I can't wait to hear more.
Hey everybody, Adrienna over at Ava and the Bee. So I own a marketing agency for wedding professionals. Tomorrow is actually our 7th birthday. I have a big giveaway happening that I put together. And so I have been in the wedding industry since 2009. I got started in high school. While I was still in college, I co-opened a wedding planning floral and brought a boutique company. So needless to say, I was in student loan debt and business loan debt, young and fresh and thinking I could conquer the world. And what we quickly realized was in order for you to successfully market a business, especially one where we had a retail space, we had, a couple $100,000 in inventory, a floral shop, a couple hundred weddings a year. Like once you start realizing that, you start realizing really fast how multifaceted your marketing has to be. So everything that I've learned about marketing, I went to art school. I do not have a marketing background. Everything I am teaching you is what I have literally learned from a decade plus experience and then doing it hundreds and hundreds of times over and over again. And that's how I know it works, is that I've literally done this hundreds of times. We write thousands of blogs a year. We have hundreds of vendors. And so much of this really comes into building a lot of those foundations, which I know you guys have been talking about. So that's why I'm really excited to be talking today a bit about like SEO and blogging because it is not dead. It can increase your business like bananas without having to take out money on ads. And again, I've seen it work consistently again and again. And it's something that when I was a vendor, transformed our business. It transformed the way that we were able to connect with our audience, the way we were able to understand SEO. I've had the honor of speaking in front of some amazing audiences. I'm going to be talking at B-Sage in a few weeks in Mexico, all about digital vetting, the special event, Cater Source, oh gosh, WIPAs, NACEs across the country. Everywhere. I feel like at this point, I'm trying to get the message out that your marketing can be not as stressful as you think. So my job today is, we're going to be kind of going through, does blogging work, and actually how we can get it to work, because I know your biggest question is probably going to be, you've tried it. It's very rare that I meet a business owner who hasn't tried blogging, right? Like we've all tried it. And there might be a few reasons that are very simple fixes of why it's not working for you.
Yes. And I also feel like I'm repeating myself at this point, and you have a bunch of fresh energy to bring this topic. We have brand photographers on the call, wedding and couple, family, and then like a couple really high-end portrait studio photographers who sell prints. And so I feel like across the board, every single person has a pretty clear, everyone's getting clearer on their ideal client and their audience. But in general, I think that what you're about to share is going to really transform everybody's approach. So I'm going to just let you.
Yeah, and this is definitely not, we work with a lot of clients as photographers who also do branding, who also have studios, who also do portraiture. So
Yeah.
we're super familiar with that. This can work. This strategy can work literally regardless of your industry.
Yeah.
You want me just to dive in?
I want you to just dive in.
Yeah.
I'm going to just end on one last thing. When we were talking about the name of today's, this discussion, this lesson, you guys, it's yes, you can book a $15,000 shoot from a blog post. And this is what Adrienna at Ava and the Bee, what they're seeing photographers have happen when they actually follow these formulas, what she's going to teach today. Hopefully, we have time at the end for you to go through exactly what people should be doing.
Mhm.
So go
Perfect.
for it.
Yeah, and I have a screenshot to prove the 15,000, and that client went up to 22,000 after she did her sales. So
Yeah,
like that was literally just the 15K and then it went up to 22. So
amazing.
100% possible. So I'll go ahead. If anyone has like some questions, if we have time for Q&A, you can put it in the chat and that way I can kind of
Yep.
see, but most likely a lot of these questions I'll probably answer at some point.
I'm going to
So
mute myself as well, guys, but I am monitoring the chat. So go for it.
perfect. Okay. So the first thing I get asked when we talk about blogging is, does it work? And obviously, the short answer, I wouldn't be here if it didn't, right? I wouldn't have a business if blogging didn't work. And the reason for a few things is that a lot of people assume I just put a blog post and it's just out there for Google and no one actually reads it. But it's a lot more than that. Blogging can help you really establish an authority and trust building. I know you guys probably talk about all the time. Social proof and trust building is essential in our industry. We have consumers that are wary about spending money. We have consumers that are nervous about vendors that are seeing online photographers behind. If you go on Reddit right now, there's going to be a dozen people saying my photographer is a year behind on photos. It scares me every time I see it, but this is what they're reading. They are reading terrifying things. They come into your inbox and you're like, they're a red flag. No, they're not a red flag. They're confused. They're overwhelmed. Like they're seeing this online. So blogging can be one of those ways that we can help connect it. So a few things to note when it comes to blogging. So here's the thing. Are they going to be reading your blog every single week on a basis? Probably not. But what they're doing is they're using Google to find answers to questions. And our goal is that you become that expert that guides them through it. So your blog is essentially providing answers to questions they're asking and then helping with the SEO. So the way it helps with your website is that consistent, regular blogging is increasing SEO. So the way Google works is Google wants fresh, relevant content. It wants new content. It wants to know that you're an expert and it wants to connect the dots on what you do. So when you have your website, you have keywords in there, right? You have like meta titles and descriptions and keywords. Well, that's not always quite enough to help increase the rankings, especially when you're competing against a saturated audience and people running ads. So one of the best ways to do that is through blogging because it's adding additional SEO keywords that Google can create that web. Because really what Google is doing is it's looking at your website and it's putting out these little spider bots and it's reading all the things you're putting and it's kind of itemizing you into little folders. And so a lot of times if you're not getting a good strategy, it's One, maybe you weren't using SEO as you're blogging. Photographers are the most guilty of this. You will post pictures and call it a day. That is not blogging. That does not even work for a portfolio individual page on your website. If you just post a bunch of pictures with no text, it's not going to do anything. You just spent a lot of time on a really pretty picture. It's not actually going to work. Yes, Google can read alt text and images. However, that's not how it's indexing it. That's not how it's understanding it. It is using your alt text more for visual impairment than it is for it being like, oh, this person does X, Y, Z. So Google is smart. We have to make sure that we're actually putting some words in it, which don't worry, we're going to talk about what to talk about. But that's a big thing. And so photographers will come to me. They'll be like, I blog every week. And I'm like, you have one sentence. You are not blogging. You are spending hours pulling images for nothing. So we're going to stop that today. If that's you, it's fine. Probably get one or two a week of that inquiry wise. The second big reason you might not be getting traffic on your blogs is you're not posting it anywhere. Just hitting publish and walking away doesn't really work anymore. The algorithm is changing. The algorithm is getting smarter. It sees social signals. So it sees when you share it on Pinterest. There's a reason why Pinterest and blogging go together. Literally, it's social signals. Like that's 99% of the strategy is SEO social signals. Facebook, newsletter, Instagram link in bio. If you're not sharing it, why would Google share it? They wouldn't. It's very hard to rank these days in a competitive market without sharing your post. So if you're just hitting publish and not doing anything about it, there's a really good chance that you're not actually doing it. And before we get into the caveat of, because a lot of my clients that we work with are in a higher level market, they're typically at the 8 to 15 range looking to get above that. And so they come to me apprehensive about blogging. And we have statistics to show it other than proof we have. So Think Splendid, they come out with yearly reports. If you haven't heard of Think Splendid, go to Think Splendid's website, buy their reports. The only way to market your business is with data, 110%. We do not make assumptions in marketing, right? We do data. Go to Think Splendid. They talk about luxury and ultra luxury. So they just came out with their most recent one from 2024, and 81% of luxury vendors and I'm sorry, luxury couples, and 78% of ultra luxury. So luxury is 100K and up in their opinion, ultra luxury is 500K and up. 81% of luxury, 78% of ultra luxury found a vendor and hired them from an internet search. Not referral, internet search. This is up from the year before. It's up 8% in the luxury space and 7% from 2023. They're literally only increasing. So the answer is, regardless of your price point and what you do, it works again and again. Okay. Blogging works. Cool. What does it have to do with SEO? I don't have to get super linear on SEO. Do you want me to go a little granular or do you want me just to skim it?
I just want you to skim it and also the takeaway tool of where they can understand. I want them to walk away understanding how we integrate keywords into our writing on blog posts so we rank without being annoying, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, yeah, you've got this.
Yeah. Okay. So the basics of SEO is keywords, right? So how it works is SEO is simply answer in question is how we think of it. The searcher types in a question. The search engine says, here's your helpful answers. So we have to convince Google that we're the most helpful, relevant answer. So I want you to think of keywords as your blog topics. Your question is the keyword, is the blog topic. This goes for real weddings and educational. It's that linear and basic. We don't have to think about doing these insanely super long keywords. It really goes for the same thing of a question. That's the keyword. That's the blog topic. So where are we going to find topics that aren't boring or topics to inspire us? Because the next question usually is, okay, I have a question, but I don't even know what they're asking. A few things. First, honestly, Google. Like Google autocomplete is going to be your best friend. Like you just need to go in there and type in what you do and see what people are asking. You can literally type in, yeah, like Savannah wedding photographer, and it's going to tell you what everyone's also searching for.
Yes. And everybody, this is in module 3 of the program. So like use all the free resources. I just had to chime in that like these little things are so, thank you for going over that. I won't
Yeah. So we're going to have all of those things. And here's the thing. A lot of times people are like, well, Adrienna, when I search Savannah wedding photographer, I see affordable DIY and cheap come up. Yes, of course, people are searching for cheap like that will never change. Here's how we shift it. How can we put a play on it? For example, you could say why you shouldn't DIY certain elements of your wedding, while you shouldn't do that. We're still using the keywords that they're searching for, but giving them kind of a subset. So, for example, we have one photographer who has a pretty large associate team. And so we did this strategy of actually going for an affordable wedding photographer. And at first she was like, okay, the way we shifted it was her associate team is the more affordable version, right? She charges 3x her team. So when we start keywording her team as being the more slightly affordable option, she was booking clients who were willing to pay 5, 10,000 because we were using the keywords that they were still shifting. So there's ways we can shift the keywords because a lot of them are going to be a bit more cost focused. That's just nothing a way around that.
What are your
Another really great tool is gonna be Pinterest. So it's the same thing like Google. Like, type it in and it's gonna tell you what people are searching for. It's also gonna really let you see the competitive map out there of who is actively using this as a strategy, so that way you can start to see what topics are they covering? What are ways that they're talking about certain things that I talk about differently? So that's kind of one. Another big one is just looking at your frequently asked questions. There's a really good chance you get a lot of FAQs that could be explained longer than a single sentence on your website. Like, depending on where you're at in your process, depending on your type of buyer, there's a really good chance one of your buyers in your couple, usually what we see is a lot of times you'll have the feeler buyer, so the influence buyer, the social buyer, the one who's like feelings, and then you'll have the analytical partner. The analytical partner is going to love those FAQ blogs. They're going to be the ones that throughout your inquiry process, when you send them, so for example, someone inquires with you. We write a lot of inquiry sequences for clients. And so someone will inquire, they'll go through a funnel, and part of that funnel will be sending them blog posts that are educational. That'll say, you're wondering about how the album process works. We have a blog for that, or we have a video for that. You're wondering how engagement sessions work. We have a video for that. We have an Amazon cart for that. Like, giving them those resources, it gives you an excuse to talk to them without being like, hey, what's up? You want to book me? You're giving them educational stuff.
yeah.
It's using your blogs and repurposing them. Google likes that. And then it's also giving the analytical buyer something to kind of sink their teeth into, because they're not going to be as emotional. So let's start with educational topics. So when it comes to like writing some of these educational posts, like I mentioned, we want to do like a question and answer format. So they're coming to you with an issue. So go back to that keyword research and start to think, what are these common questions that are being asked? Is it about timeline? Is it about albums? Is it about, I mean, as a photographer, I know there's 700 questions they're asking you. What are things they're looking for as well that are earlier in the booking process and earlier in the funnel? So obviously venues are a very easy thing to talk about. Y'all could probably talk about venues for days because you're at them all day long, right? So what are your favorite venues? But how can we put, again, a unique spin on it? Because if I look up Savannah wedding venue, 700 blogs, 100 of them I've written at this point. I have so many clients there. So how do we make it unique every single time is we put a spin on it. Maybe you focus on intimate weddings that are outdoors. Maybe you focus on adventure weddings. Maybe you focus on a specific style of photography. Maybe we had one client who's really into book talk and book lover. So we literally have like the best romantasy venues in Chicago. It gets insane traffic because it's so niche, but yet so their audience, that how can we put a spin on a typical 5 venues we love in Chicago? What is your business spin that we can put on it and use those keywords? Because our goal is to give them something a little bit different that has your spin on it. So even if it's a blog like a venue, like engagement sessions, like albums that you see a lot of people writing about, it doesn't mean you still can't rank well for it. I think that's a big thing is people will be like, so and so already wrote that. I'm like, but did they give it with your spin?
Right.
No. So it's still a completely relevant topic for you.
I'm going to dive in here and say, this is where I want everybody to use the community, right? Like, hey guys, I'm about to put out a blank, blah, blah, blah. The reason is because we can support each other in that way. Adrienna, I just did a huge blog post on venues, and we went from like the supportive, like stressed out ICA vibe of like what the venue will do for them. That was our twist, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I love that.
Something I think everyone will really benefit from right now at this phase of your lesson is, can you briefly go over sort of the 4 buyer types for photographers,
Yeah.
just like briefly, because I want people here to understand how our blog, woven in with our long form about/sales page, woven in with our FAQ, can basically tackle all 4 buyer types in one kind of loop on our website.
Yeah. Do you want me to use the disc method? That's how we have it. Usually we talk
I
about it.
love that method, and I
Cool.
think it will resonate. And what I can do after this is share your disc method in the program with everybody.
Cool. Yeah. So the disc method is what that's what we use for our clients. We also use it for everything we work with on a client is based off the disc method when we're writing copy for them. So do you want me to go over the 4 types?
If you wouldn't mind, because I
Yeah, of
feel like
course.
this is going to really support everyone in understanding who are their people and how
I
are they.
literally am working on this for a photographer in Connecticut. We use the DISC method to organize testimonials as well. So when we're doing this, think about your testimonials and your clients that fit this narrative because there's a lot of strategy we put into even with testimonials. All right, I'm just going to pull up what I am doing for
I,
this client
I
right
love
now.
it. Do you want, let me give you access to share your, are you going to share your screen?
It's her private information, so I'm just
Oh,
going to
no,
read off what
don't.
I
Yeah.
know. Yeah. No, it's just because we're building a website as a photographer and I just did her testimonial DISC method. All right, so we have 4 buyer types. So I want you to think about as I go through these, like you're going to have a client in mind when you think about it. So just think about them. I'm also color coordinating because that's how my brain works. So D is our dominant. They are red. Okay. Efficiency, experience, results, direct, exclusivity. Planners are often red. Planners often are our reds of the world. These are the quick decision makers. They're focused on the bottom line. Their buying habits, they're going to want clear, concise information and they want to know the tangible benefits of your service. So they're going to want to know what's your track record? How long have you been doing this? Do you have any accolades? That type of stuff. So when it comes to our communication, we want to give them, they're going to be more of the skimmers too. So they're going to be more reading the headlines and looking at the skimming. So for a blog post, they're going to be the ones who are going to want some bullet points in there, right? They're going to be like, give me the TLDR of what is happening and tell me why you're the best. They want you to tell them why you are the best. These are the
Mhm.
people who don't shy away from bragging, which is amazing. We love these people. I am not this person, but I love them as humans. We want to emphasize when we're writing how our offer stands out from the competition. So they're the type of people that we're going to want more clear and concise language. Press badges, if you have work featured, make sure you're blogging about that. Make sure you're saying, as seen on Martha, we've been featured at this award. Make sure you have testimonials from vendors. They also are really all about making sure if the other vendors brag about you, they love you. I could talk about each one for an hour, but a few things that they're going to ask you on a sales call, because that might be helpful if I include that. Few questions they're going to be asking you on a call. These are the people you sometimes think are red flags and they're not. This is how they buy. What sets you apart from other photographers? How can I guarantee that my wedding photos will be exactly what I envision? How are you going to handle unexpected challenges? And what are key milestones and deliverables? They're the ones that when you say 10 weeks, they think you mean 9 weeks and 3 days. They are the like, let's go. These are the people that will also say add to cart immediately. So what I love is that everyone thinks these people are red flags. They will spend more money on you. These are the people that will whip out their credit card and go, yeah, add, don't even need to think twice. So don't think of that red flags. A few blog topics. Ultimate checklist for ensuring a seamless wedding photography experience. Checklist, 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 checklist. What to look for in a wedding photographer. So, what are things that they should be looking for? They're going to love a blog post like that.
I'm going to interject and say what to look for in a personal brand photographer, what to look
Yes.
for in a studio portrait photographer. This applies to everybody here. I just want to make sure yeah.
Yeah. Next is our influence buyer. These are our yellow. So think of them warm, enthusiastic, inspirational, friendly, social. They're definitely on TikTok. They're definitely really swayed by people's opinions. They're the butterflies of the room. They want a wedding that is a party, that is a rager, that is a weekend guest experience. They're fun, they're lighthearted. I know we always want to work with them. They're energetic. So the way that they're buying is they're really thinking about emotional storytelling. They're going to make decisions based on how well they vibe. They're about vibes, about emotions, and gut experience. They want to see your personality. They really like testimonials that talk about you and how great you are because they want other people's social proof. They want someone else explaining why you're pretty cool. So they're definitely a bit more into that. They really want to think about, so it's like storytelling. So whenever we're writing blogs, they're the ones that we're talking more about the party. So we're talking less about the couple and how they met. That's going to be a different buyer in a minute. They're the ones who want to know, did grandma break it down on the dance floor? Did someone do a keg? Like they're the ones who want about the party, right? It was a wedding weekend. It was fun. It was vibrant. The vendors worked together. That's the type of copy that we want to bring in for them if you work with a lot of them. A lot of testimonials all over your website, all over your blogs. Make sure you constantly have that. Talk about your team if you have a team. So if you're doing like branding for a company where the person who's buying is super like joyful and happy, make sure you're talking about it. They really love video, so definitely for social. The type of questions they're going to be asking is, how are you going to make this session fun and relaxed, especially if you're working in a more of a corporate brand environment? How are you going to make it fun for the team? Like no one wants to have that get their pictures taken. How are you going to make this fun, right? Or can you share stories of how you've captured specific moments? Like I'm going to have a band. I'm going to have this. How have you photographed in dark lighting? Like they're going to be thinking about that. They're also really great with vendor collaboration posts. They love when you blog with other people. So, one of the things we do with a lot of our clients is we have them interview vendor friends. It tells Google that you're friends. That's great, especially if they're like, if they have a bigger name and status. We love it because it's telling Google, hey, we work with these people. And then the influencer buyer likes to see that in a blog because they're like, oh, they're friends. Oh my God, so fun. Like they love that. And it's having the other person write it for you. So do a blog swap, have your favorite florist or venue, ask each other a few questions, turn that into a blog, post it on each other's websites, talk about it. You did 5% of the lifting and you just booked an influence buyer.
Yeah.
Next is steady. This is me as a buyer, so I could talk about it for 17 days. Patient, support, reliable, emotionally intuitive, bit more introverted, loyal. They're the type of people who, once they love you, will refer you to the ends of the earth to all their family and friends. They are the influencers and steady, love to refer. That's just their thing. They want stability and trust. They are thorough with their decisions. They will not jump immediately. Our dominant and our influencer, much more likely to close on a call. Our steady and our next one that I'll be talking about, a lot less likely. They need some time. They don't like high pressure sales tactics. It feels really icky to them. If you try to close really fast, they start to tense away. And it's just because they need to be really thorough. So they want a bit more detailed information. They want reassurance. What you can do is highlight long-term relationships. So we've been working with this venue for 10 years. We've been working with this corporate client for 5 years. They want to see longevity, even if you're new in the space. They want to know, oh, we've done this before. You are not our first rodeo. They really want to be reassured and see a track record. So in our blog posts, they're going to be the ones that want more about the couple story, sentimental details, a little bit warmer, a little bit fuzzier. They want testimonials like everybody, but they want testimonials that talk about how they felt working with vendors. Like these are intuitive, introverted, typically feelers. They're the ones we kind of have to hold our hands. Like y'all, I'm this buyer. Y'all got to hold my hand. You got to make me feel really warm and fuzzy inside. But if you're willing to go a little bit of that extra mile, again, they will be your ride or die for the rest of your life for your business. They're going to
Mhm.
ask questions like, I want my guests to be comfortable and have fun. I want this experience to be comfortable. How are you going to ensure that things, if things don't work out on the wedding day or our timelines get changed or we have to move the shoot around, what are you going to do to make sure it's okay? Like they just want to feel really taken care of. They also want to hear a lot about the process. They're going to be, they want to be reassured in their decision. So they might be one who asks like, how do you create timelines? If we're doing a brand shoot, what do you need me to bring to my brand shoot? Do I have to collect things earlier? How early do I need them? They tend to have a lot of questions around that of like things. Yeah.
I'm just going to ping you because this is the perfect time. This is a great opportunity to create an evergreen blog post that's like 25 things to do the week before your brand session.
Mm-hmm.
Or something like that where you're answering their questions before they have them and then their thought process, I trust this person. Oh my God, like thank you. Then they show up on shoot day already with a review before your photos have been delivered. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So remember, guys, creating content that's going to nurture them as leads before their clients as well. This isn't
100%.
just about closing a deal. It's about, whoa. And then I'll get into something when you're done with the disc method about if you have multiple buyer types.
Perfect. Yeah, yeah, because you'll always have multiple. I think that's the biggest thing is like no one will ever be 100% one, and especially when you're dealing with couples or partners or corporate or those stuff like that for sure. Or albums, these are going to be the people that will again buy 700 albums, but you have to pre-sell them. You cannot say at the end of it, get an album. They panic. You need to tell them from the very beginning, you're going to design an album and you're going to talk about it 50 times because they're going to need to hear them. And then they're going to be really happy. And then the last one is they're conscientious. They're blue. These are research, methodical, spreadsheet lover, like the D. So you can see everyone kind of molds into each other. Everyone has, some overlap. Always have a backup plan. Like these are the people who, again, are high standards, thorough decision makers. They, again, will not make decisions very quickly. They're going to need to think about it. They're not super high pressure sales tactics. They really want professionalism and high standards, and they want a bit more detailed. So they're going to be looking for more bullet point things, especially in blogs. They're going to want to know step-by-step processes, FAQs. They're the ones when they're on your website, they're going to click through every process, every step of how to work with us. They're the ones that actually click on it. No one else is going to click on it, but this person will. And so we still got to sell to them, which is why we have to have it, right? They're also the ones who are going to read every single FAQ. Like, they're great, right? They're just thorough. They really want explanations. They're going to want reviews that really talk about, again, how you overcame an obstacle. So, bad weather, delayed, last minute session, whatever you have done to overcome, they like before and after, like they like transformations, right? Influencers and steady, our yellow and greens want to see behind the scenes, our red and blue want to see transformation before and after because they want to know that you've done it. So that's kind of what they're looking at. They're also going to be, again, a bit more detail when it comes to like imagery. They want to see more details. Like couples
Really
are
quick.
cool.
I'm
Yeah.
interrupting you. Everybody, really quick. I just dropped Adrienna's disc
Oh,
model
yeah.
in chat so you can have the red, yellow, green, blue in your mind while she's talking. Go for it. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, yeah. No, I was like, I know I have so much content out there about it. So yeah, I think of them as colors, which is why I like automatically think of their colors. So yeah, so when it comes to them, they're going to want systematic follow-ups. They're going to want blogs that again go through FAQs, processes, things you've done. If you're writing about a real wedding, they're going to be the one that wants to know if it rained, what did you do? Like they're the ones who want to know like what went wrong and how did you fix it? Like that's what they care about. They're going to ask questions about the process, how you handle before and post production, how often you're going to be in communication. What is your backup plan if you're not available, if something goes wrong? They're going to want to see multiple portfolios as well, regardless of what type of work. They're going to be the ones they do not want to just see one. They want to see like 7, because again, they're going to compare, right? They're going to check you off a box. And then they're going to want to see things that are in similar situations. So have you shot at this venue? Have you done this type of shoot before? Have you worked with this type of product before? Have you done corporate like this before? Have you done real estate? Like they're going to ask more of those, like, have you done X before? And they're probably going to have a few of them because they just want to like make sure. Those are the 4
Those are the
types.
4. I know that was kind of a little wrench in your presentation, but now I'm excited for all of you to hold that in your mind as she continues to talk about, blogging keywords, because now you can kind of say, all right, how can I appeal to these 4 buyer types as you're evolving your marketing strategy?
Yeah. Yeah. And one note was people will naturally have slightly different types. You'll typically have multiple you have to deal with. And that's why when it comes to marketing and your copy and your imagery, it has to appeal to all 4. Because how it works is you will naturally market the way that you buy. So you will naturally market in one of the 4 types based on what you are, because it's easy, right? So I'm a steady, I tend to market steady. My clients, however, are often not steady buyers. So I have to remember, okay, as much as I want every single thing to be this emotional and this intense, that is not what everybody's buying. So that's why you have to kind of keep all 4 in mind, because you will naturally have a lot of one or the other, but then you'll also need to talk about it. So for example, for educational, if we're doing more of a dominance, Like I said, their topics are going to be a bit more of the educational topics, the process topics, a bit more bullet pointy.
Hmm.
Do you want me to talk about real weddings too? I know we have some wedding people in here. Do you want me to talk about weddings?
No, I think going back to, I really want to get to the meat of the blogs so they walk away going, I can do this myself.
Okay. Yeah. So the first thing that when we start to write the blog is we just start to think about it as I'll talk more about, I guess, like educational, how we would write it versus like a real wedding. Let me pull up my notes for that. I have a separate screen.
Sounds good.
So the way that we kind of structure a blog is, so first things first, you don't need thousands and thousands and thousands of words. If you get above 1,500 words, it's actually when we recommend you cut it into a series. It's because the average reader on your website is probably at the 2-minute 35 range to like 350 is our kind of what we see industry average, including more corporate. So a few minutes. So anything when we start to get too long, especially on mobile, because a lot of your audience at this point is reading the blog on a phone, anything under like 1,500 words is actually more ideal. So for a real event style shoot, case study, we typically 300 to 500 words, anything educational, 1,500 and under. The minimum is 300 words. Minimal for anything you post on any page, including a website page. 300 words is the minimum that we need for Google. So the first thing we're going to do is you're going to think about, okay, what is the question that I'm answering? I want to make sure that I say the question that I'm answering a few times because that's my keyword. We don't have to have the keyword 700 times. Like again, Google Smart, it reads it and it's like, okay, your keyword stuffing, I don't care. 3 or 4 times is typically all we need to say it. We need to say that keyword, so that question in the title. We need to say it in one of the headers, so one of the bigger pieces of font. And then we need to have it in what's called a meta title and a meta description. So that's just telling Google a bit more information. It's the exact same way it works on a web page is how it works on your blog. So depending on your blog platform, there's going to be a spot that says title and it'll literally say like meta title and meta description. Just think of it as like what the blog is about and a little snippet. That's the main places we need the actual keyword. That's it. We don't need it in 1.5 million spots. The biggest thing is to break it up so it's, again, visually easy to read. We want to make sure we have a few different headers. So think of it, whenever we're writing for a client, the way that we get information is we do it question and answer. So for whatever the main question is, we'll ask the client 5 or 6 questions to answer, and then we just turn those into paragraphs. So it can be really that simple. Start with bullet points. Ask yourself, if I'm talking about, I'm trying to think of like a topic I could just like do it with. Do you have a topic in mind you want me to break down?
Sure. What about it? This is for the dominant buyer, but
I love it.
let's do something like 5 ways, 5 things that set us apart from our competition.
Okay, perfect.
And this can be for anyone, right?
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Writing it down.
You're
The
doing
way
great.
that we would do it is for each way would be its own section. So each of the 5 ways. So you would have one paragraph that would talk about the overall why I'm talking about this topic. This is where you brag. The intro is where you're going to brag because if they're not going to read the whole thing, we might as well have you brag in the intro. This is also where you're going to have some kind of link to what you do. Within that first paragraph, I want you to link to your contact page, your services page, something. We need to internally tell them immediately in that first paragraph what we do as well. I need you to say, as a brand photographer, as a Savannah wedding photographer, as a corporate, whatever. That needs to be in that first paragraph. That's for Google and it's also for your cold audience reader. So they came off Google, they don't know who you are and what you do. If you don't have it in that first paragraph, they're probably going to bounce. So your first paragraph, as a refresher, it needs to have what you do just listed, like boldly, as a blank, blank, blank. This is an important topic to me because XYZ. Simple to the point. And then we typically like to link internally when we say that. So as a brand photographer, we'll link brand photographer to the services pages.
Mhm.
Again, intro, couple sentences. We don't really need to get that crazy with it. Next, each of the 5 ways you're going to turn into individual little paragraphs. So you're just going to have whatever the question is. So what is way number 1? Just write out a few bullet points of why it is and turn it into a nice little paragraph. You're just going to want to make sure you break it up with a header. So you'll want to say reason number 1. We're the best because we are constantly awarded the best from XYZ magazine. I don't know, whatever your reason is. That's the title. and then just write a few sentences about it. Title, write a few sentences. That's all we really have to do. When it comes to imagery, we don't have to put in a ton. If it's like a real wedding, for the love of all that is good in the world, please don't have more than like 40 images. You'll overwhelm half our buyer types and they'll click out. We don't need to show everything. We don't need to show the kitchen sink. I want them to want to see more. My goal when I do a real wedding blog is that they go, I want to see more, not I've seen it all. I've seen it all. They don't contact you. I want to see more. They contact you. Same for educational. Handful of pictures, 10 or 15, or maybe just one or two. We don't have to go super crazy on that. And then when it comes to the final part, so once we have our intro, we brag about ourselves, we talk about the 5 different ways that we're really cool. Think about ways to organically, again, tie in things you've done for other clients throughout your writing process. So whenever you're writing, just think of what is one example of a client I've worked with that I can talk about that ties into this. Because again, that's going to go for a more influencer steady buyer who's going to want to see you talk about someone else. They don't want you to only talk about yourself. They want you to mention when we worked with XYZ Real Estate, they loved this part of working with us. Like, again, it can be really subtle. Throw in a testimonial if you have one, but try to think of at least one way in every blog you can talk about someone else other than you, because some of our buyers are going to be turned off if it's only about you. And then when it comes to the ending, I think the ending for some reason is like the hardest. I feel like people never know how to conclude. They're like, I got a blog, and then it just ends. Well, the good news is that your conclusion doesn't really have to be like that crazy. Like you can literally just summarize what you just talked about and then tell it some kind of call to action. So, what do you want them to do? If you're telling them 5 ways to set me apart from the competition, I'm assuming you want them to then contact you to learn more about the 5 ways, right? So maybe think of one of the 5 ways and have that be the call to action. Are you looking for an award-winning brand photographer in Cincinnati? Contact us. We would love to set up a call with you. Short and sweet. We don't have to overthink the ending.
Okay. May I chime in on one small thing for
Yeah,
everybody?
go for it.
Okay. I just wrote it in the chat as well. So y'all can copy and paste what I'm about to share. So I just came up with like a quick intro to a blog that is so vague, but it does hit all 4 buyer types because, you know, we've got the dominant, we want that person, they want to be guided through an experience, right, Adrienna? Like they're busy, they're like, they just want to know A, B, and C are going to be really, really dialed. Would you say that falls in dominant?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so I just made this up really fast, you guys. This will work for any of you, but how to start by bragging about yourself without coming off salesy and weird as a blank photographer in blank location. So, as an established brand photographer in San Diego, we go above and or as a Napa wedding photographer, as a wedding photographer in Napa, we go above and beyond for our clients from our very first interaction through the final image delivery. I believe your experience is equally as important to the final outcome, and we will guide you every step of the way. Insert social proof, go into bullet points, and start with a real story about someone else before, you know, you keep going with it, if this is the 5. And then within under each bullet point or number, add a CTA to keep them engaged, whether it's a button to your FAQ page, a button to your sales page, a button to your accolades page or your awards page. If you don't have awards, whatever. But that 3 sentences hits all 4 buyer types in 3 sentences, right, Adrienna?
Yeah. No, I love that. Yeah. Oh, yeah, you're adding it. Perfect.
I'm adding it only because I know it's hard to talk about ourselves, but it works. Or not ourselves, bragging a little bit. You just want to do it where it feels comfortable. And I know that that can be really hard.
Oh, yeah. One of the things we say all the time, I mean, I'm the worst at promoting myself, but if you don't brag about yourself, who will? And so sometimes we have to lean into that way, even though I know artists, I mean, I went to art school, I'm a feeler, and critique me all you want, but I'll feel it. But sometimes, yeah, we got to brag about it.
And if you go, anyways, I can help you guys brag whenever you need me.
Perfect. So yeah, so that's kind of how we structure a lot of them. Do you want me to share some of my favorite tools?
I
I
would
can put
love
them in
that.
the chat too.
That was my next big yes.
So first is having Google Analytics. I'm assuming we're all We all have it, right? Okay. That's like my number one is if we don't have Google Analytics, I cannot help you. Because the first thing is Google Analytics, because we just need to know if the data works. The next is so Uber Suggest is a really great free option that gives you content ideas based off of keywords research. There is a paid version. Again, the free works really well and it can tell you what you're also ranking for. So if you have the paid version, you can put your website in and it'll tell you what keywords you're already ranking for, which is again really great. You can see where, because a lot of times people don't realize what they're even ranking for and they think they're ranking for a certain keyword and it's like, actually, you're not. So Uber Suggest has a free option. There's so many SEO tools. This one I have found for the cost and for the ease of usability is my favorite. Keywords Everywhere is a browser extension. It is now paid. It used to be free, but that's fine. So the way it works is it literally just goes into your Chrome, and I believe they have it for Firefox too, but you can turn it on and turn it off. And when you turn it on, it will tell you how many people are searching for that keyword. So you can type in Savannah wedding photographer, and it'll say 420 a month or however many it is. And it's like $10 for 100,000 searches. It will last you, like, we refresh it constantly. It will last you all years because you turn it on and off. Like, you don't have it on all the time. But Keywords Everywhere, very inexpensive, really helps you. And then Google Trends. So another thing for finding topic ideas is Google Trends. Again, Google wants you to write content. Like, they're giving you free tools. So if you want to know what's trending in your niche, you can search for your city and like weddings, and it'll tell you what's trending keyword wise, what venues are hot, what people like, what trends are hot. That can be a really great one, especially if you deal with a lot of like influencer buyers or people who want trends and you want a blog post that's on like what's popular right now. So those are kind of my three favorite tools that we use a lot within our business.
So amazing. And if everyone was to get off the call right now and open up Google to start this process, where would you recommend they start? Like, what is the easiest, fastest, quickest, straightforward way to do this?
Google whatever your main keyword is, whatever city you're in and what you do. Savannah brand photographer, whatever it is, and then find what are two topics that come up that you could talk about. Because
Explain
there's gonna be.
what if they don't know what their keywords are? Will you explain that? I know it's simple, but
Yeah. So your keyword for your business is literally just what you do in what city. So what you do plus your city, enter it into Google and then see what comes up. There's going to be topics that will naturally come up that people are talking about it. Find one of them and think of how can I talk about this with my voice? How can I talk about this with my point of view?
and this is really, what about people? This is just sort of, what about the LA people, the New York City people, the San Diego people, where we're talking huge cities? What do you recommend newer photographers or mid-range do for that?
Like when you're entering a saturated market or when you're in a saturated market.
Yeah,
Yeah.
specifically like branding or weddings, like in LA or like these bigger areas.
Yeah. So first, easily are going to be venues that are niche to specific regions of your area. So we have a lot of clients in LA. There are 700 regions in LA that are searchable, right? So
Right.
LA isn't just LA. We got Malibu, we got Pacific Palace. Like I don't even know half of them. Get niche with the exact location. Get niche with the neighborhood in New York. Get niche with the neighborhood in the major city, and
Yep.
do that.
Okay, I was hoping that's what you were going to say because I just want to piggyback on it that like
Yeah.
I have pages of my website completely optimized for niche locations.
Mm-hmm.
You guys, this is what this works. Like,
Yeah.
so it doesn't mean, even though sometimes it's weird to not blend your locations, it just confuses Google. Right? Like, so I've written multiple brand photography blog posts lately that we're dripping out that's covering Silicon Valley, Los Angeles, and like very specific brand photography keywords. So that's another idea too. But for those of you that are in these big cities, go like hour and a half radius from your house for now.
Mm-hmm.
Do like, let's get realistic, right? Because sometimes it takes 4 hours to get from one end to a city, you know?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the niches do really, really well. And I will say for that, also, if you do things like engagement sessions, proposals, like if you look up like LA proposal photographer, like you're going to know who's our client. she is niched down so well and books more proposals than she knows what to do with. And it's all because we went real niche, real early on, and picked really niche locations in LA.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. Do you have anything else you wanted to go over, or do you think we should open it up for some Q&A?
I would say Q&A. I
Yeah,
know I feel like I covered a lot, so I feel like there's
you
probably
did
questions.
amazing. Oh my God. The great news about that is that I'm going to have a summary about it so we can actually have some digestible stuff to go over. Q&A, guys, the floor is open. She is a very, very good with this, so I would encourage diving in.
Yeah, I'm an open book. Ask me anything. I have probably dealt with a client that you do in a city that you're in probably at this point too. It's pretty rare. It's pretty rare. We untap some new markets. It's rare. I love it though. I love learning new markets. Oh my God, it's my favorite. When I haven't had a client there, I'm like, yes.
All right. Don't jump at once, everybody.
I had a question about like platforms for the blog because I've heard sometimes, using your own website or using WordPress, but I didn't know if you had like a strong preference
Your own
over.
website, 100%. Always have it be on your own website for sure. You never want your blog to be on a separate website.
Okay, so even if your website isn't Word, like it doesn't matter if it's not
No,
Word.
we can rank, we can have you do. Are there some platforms that we prefer for SEO? Yes. Can I get you to rank on any of them? Yeah, for sure.
Which ones do you prefer? Just because I am in the process of kind of transitioning to
Yeah. So
platform.
we prefer to work on Showit, WordPress, or Squarespace. That
Okay.
is has to do with A, pricing, B, SEO potential, C, design, and D, longevity of how your business can grow with it. So Showit uses WordPress as its like base technically, or you could have WordPress by itself, or you could have Squarespace. That's the three that we recommend.
Okay, great. And then on the niche part, like I'm the San Diego person, or maybe one of
Perfect.
them. There's probably others, but I do live in North County, so I don't know. Like, is it better to get a specific as like the city of Carlsbad, or like can North County, or is that something where I just need to do more research and see like how many people
Yeah.
showing up?
We would want to do research, but I can do research for you right now. You said, what kind of photography do you do?
Brand and family portrait, but I'm trying to focus on the brand, expanding the brand photography, like
Okay.
personal brand.
Yeah. So it looks like we could do a few things. You could definitely do San Diego brand photography. Surprisingly decent competition in terms of there's a lot of potential. I would say, yeah, I would look up your specifics, like your specific keywords in terms of like specific neighborhoods. I would also then think about other specific places you shoot at a lot, like neighborhoods, parks, like
Mhm.
public places like that. Those are going to be usually, or like a venue. Those can be pretty high search, especially for our West Coast people. A lot of people tend to think more neighborhoody and like park. So like this beach or this park can sometimes rank pretty well.
Okay. And then when you say you're doing like, are you looking for a number of hits when you Google something? And if it has like 10 pages, like you're probably not the best one to start to rank for, or,
So I'm using keywords everywhere. So I have
okay.
keywords everywhere on my computer. And so I just turn it on. And so what you do is you just go into Google and you just type in a keyword and then it'll tell you underneath it, literally on Google, it'll say 400 searches a month, 100 searches a month.
And then you're trying to kind of target the smaller number right now to like be able to fit in that grouping, or is it kind of
I
both?
mean, you can target some of the bigger ones too. I would say do a mix. We always want to target some of the big keywords for sure, but then
Mhm.
also have a handful of blogs that are a bit more niche throughout the year just to try to hit on different markets.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Hi, Adrian. I had a
Hi.
question with the blog. So, how
Yeah.
can you drive more traffic to the blog besides Pinterest? And how would a video do compared to photos for a blog?
Great question. So, in order to drive traffic, a few ways. One, I mean, other than Pinterest, would be sharing it on social media, asking your friends to share it on their social media. So, be like, hey, I wrote this blog. Will you share it on Instagram? Share it on Facebook? I don't always usually recommend running ads to blogs because the conversion strategy for that is not it's not going to convert the way we want it. You want to focus a bit more on that organic. So just naturally posting it online consistently. So I would say you write a blog, I would make sure you talk about it like once a month online. Don't just like let it sink everywhere. Video, really great question. So when it comes to adding video into blogs, the way that we would want to do it in order to capture the SEO potential is have it hosted on YouTube first. We don't want to just embed it. We want to host it on a platform like YouTube because it's searchable, and then we add it. So make sure it's hosted on YouTube and then embed it. We don't want to just have it live by itself there.
Yeah.
And I had another question. So about the niche with the keywords. So what if you have multiple things around it? Let's say I do proposal, I do weddings, and I have, let's say, elopements. How do I pick which niche keywords to use? Would I lose the other clients as well?
No, so you would want to use them all. So for example, on your website, you would have one page for elopements, one page for this, one page for that. You would have separate pages. And then your blogs, you would talk about all of them throughout the year. So you would want to make sure you talk about all of them throughout the year.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Harry, really quickly, knowing you so well, a great topic would be, I think, starting with proposals to see if they'll follow their journey with you, right? From proposal through engagement to wedding. Like if you're going to spend an hour today on something, I would start there. If you don't mind
Okay.
going. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Getting them early in that funnel is really great. The earlier we can get them in, the better.
Seriously.
Yeah.
I'm also thinking if there's anything super valuable. Oh, I was thinking about something for everybody here. I hope we still have everybody. Adrienna mentioned how the planner is the dominant, right? Like the red. Guess who else is dominant for those of you who aren't doing weddings? Any type of brand strategist, web designer, or brand strategy, web design, all the brand photographers here, your clients are going to them. And then those people are going, oh, honey, you need new photography. And then they're going to recommend you. So the best thing, and again, this is what I have my virtual assistant do but like figure out some really great brand strategist, web designers that you feel like have the same ideal client as you. Right? So someone I partner with, I'm just going to make an example. Her name is Soulful Solution, and she's in Denver, Colorado, and she only works with women in the health and wellness sector. And she's from the Bay Area. So a lot of her clients are like an hour from me. So they hire her, she's higher end. And then she goes, you need to do a brand shoot. And then she recommends me. Boom. So planners are my best friend in the wedding industry. It's where I get tons of my business. And what's really sad, just for those of you here that are in the wedding industry, I just have to say this, Ava, you know this too. The industry is changing rapidly right now. So get on top of your connections. Like who I used to think was my main like bread and butter person at a venue. I just got a vacation message. She left that venue, right? So I'm going to Napa today to meet with their new person to ensure that they keep referring my wedding business to their clients because I've always been on their list. But this new lady hasn't ever worked with me and I've been shooting there 10 years. So don't get lazy with your connections because if you want to find someone where your ideal client is going to go to them and need you at the same time. Does that make sense? I feel like sometimes my delivery is very scattered.
No, it totally makes sense. I mean, one of the things that we tell people all the time when they come to us is your marketing is an ecosystem and I can only do part of it. I can't do the networking for you. So if you're not doing that, then there's only so much you can do digitally. Like what we focus on at my business is your online presence, but half of your business is in person.
Yep.
And I wish I could network for you, but unfortunately I cannot.
Oh, this is really good. So I had another student ask me personally. So when someone's got a luxury service in a really small town with like where the local people might be scared of her pricing, what would your recommendation be? Would it be to go to the biggest city, like within an hour radius and bring people? That's what I recommend. Yeah.
100%. And we have a lot of that. I mean, I'm from the Midwest and from a small town. And so like you want to target the bigger cities. Yeah. Just because they're going to typically have the more price point. / be willing to travel, or if you can travel to them.
And like, for those of you, I don't know if Rach is still on the call, but very high-end portrait studio, making sure that also market the town next to you, right? So that you're not, I'm from a 7,000 person town in Sonoma County that's like an hour north of San Francisco. And I've always heavily, heavily pushed SF because I know that people will drive 50 minutes.
100%.
Or I will, either or.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Is there I just feel like you're you're so great at teaching and like getting to the point, because some of these topics are so overwhelming. So you guys, just like always, I'm gonna come up with a full transcript from today, but then a very concise recap and then action items about like what she talked about in that bullet format. So those of you that are kind of in any state of overwhelm have a digestible version. Also, I'm going to send out an email after this when the recording's ready with Adrienna's contact. I feel like you are just one of those people that photographers need. And if you don't, like following her Instagram, for example, has educated me so much. And so I'm just going to connect everybody. You're amazing at what you do. I'm so grateful for you reinforcing some of these things that I also teach, because the world is really noisy with tech. It's really noisy, you guys. So stay in your lane, keep focusing on what you can control. And all of the things we talked about are things you can control.
For sure. 100%. And they're
Right.
tried and true marketing strategies that haven't changed. Been doing it 15 years, haven't changed, which is great.
Yes. And I personally, you guys, would love to continue this within our community as a conversation, and support each other with topic ideas and cross-referencing, because I don't want people to feel isolated and only using ChatGPT. Like, we have each other. We all have, we're all smart, intelligent creatives that can support each other with these topics and ideas. So I'll see you guys on the back end.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, I'm going to stay online for 10 minutes if anyone has any questions, okay? Adrienna, you're the best. Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
If you found this episode helpful, I would love it if you could leave a rating or review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Your feedback helps us reach more people who are looking to transform their own photography businesses. Thank you so much for your support.